Did you get a boo-boo? A boo-boo.
I lost one bat.
You lost a bat and didn't know it.
Well,
Oh my
it
goodness.
must have shaken out in that last. I know that I had it all along. So it took about 50 knots. Well, it wouldn't be 50 knots. It was just really strong. The temperature in the last T-cell, just before I stopped sailing, only because there was a couple more coming.
And the Coast Guard mentioned that that would be what they wanted you to do, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Anyway, just before we stopped in the face of more storms, the first T-cell that hit us, there was a temperature drop of at least 20 degrees, maybe more, and so there was a lot of force behind the wind, and the highest gust that came through had to be 35 knots. I mean, it just blew what had been, 4 and 5 foot waves cycles flat. I mean, it just went flat, and the whole rig was shaking. Now, I had slowly been feathering the sail in to point the bow into the wind, just to keep the boat steady. The boat became so uncontrollable, and the rig was being pummeled with such force. I actually wound up turning the boat over. It was going over, and I just let it go over on purpose, and just sat on the bottom of the rig just to reduce the load on the rig. Which actually ultimately proved to be one of my undoings, because the Coast Guard saw me do that maneuver, and they're not used to, I think, small boats of this kind, and so they thought that I was in danger, when actually I was performing a safety maneuver. But at any rate, I noticed the sail was just absolutely shaking, and I must have blown out one bat. So I'll have to have that fixed. I have extra bats, so.
So you would sail this sail.
Oh, all it needs is a couple stitches. I mean, it's just a couple stitches, and then I'll put a batten in, and it'll be fine.
Right. And who makes this sail?
This is an intensity sail. I've used them for years because they're a little bit more affordable to use on a regular basis, and I find them to be very durable. So I find that these sails I can use for a pretty long time with pretty heavy use, and still be able to take them out and be competitive. Yeah, I've really liked intensity sails a lot. I found that they're the best for all-around use, and to get your money out of the sail. It's really good. So yeah, I highly recommend them, and I always tell people that to sail these sails all the time. And
No, wait, because just for the record here, you did have a couple of laser-made sail options for this trip that were newer sails, right?
I did have well, I don't know the age of the other sails. I think they were new sails. They felt newer. They certainly looked newer. We could have used some regular laser sails, but a couple things. I have a good friend, Dave Tunnicliffe, who I sail with quite a bit, and he has a motto that I've come to live by, and that is, don't change gear on race day.
Right.
And I know these sails really well. This is my regular practice and racing sail for the little events that we do, for the non-sanctioned events. So I'm very comfortable with how to tune it, how it responds, I was confident that it would not come apart on me over a really long trek. So.
And it didn't.
I didn't want it. Nope, it held up really well. I cannot begrudge a couple stitches at the back end of a batten pocket through the amount of punishing winds that I put the sail through. Not only the thunderstorm that hit me just before the end, but all day long. Basically from sun up to about 6 o'clock, I had been sailing in what started as about 15 knots and 3-foot seas. And by the end of the day, I was sailing in what I estimate to be between 20 and 25 knots. I would probably put it at about 22 knots most of the time. And probably 4 to 5 foot seas with a couple extra big ones thrown in there every once in a while. But I basically had sailed all day long in really, really strong winds. The sail had been tightened down to be probably looked like a board from the side. I had the Cunningham, crank. The kringle was almost all the way down to the boom. The foot was pulled totally flat. I had tons and tons of vang on. The sail was completely controllable. The boat was totally under control, going through really, really big waves and through really, really heavy air. In fact, it was so under control, I mean, I could just sit there with one hand on the tiller and the main sheet in my hand and wave to the folks from the Maryland State Police in their helicopter with my other hand. So.
That well, and for the record, it was a small craft advisory with a hurricane coming in.
I'm not saying it.
They were towing in a 100-foot sailboat.
Well, anybody.
Because they were scared that they weren't going to make it through what you were in a 14-foot laser with this sail.
Yeah,
so,
but
just saying.
I mean, the boat is seaworthy, and I felt comfortable, and like I said, my gear was performing. The sail did a beautiful job. The boat did a beautiful job, and so I had not been worried. I probably should have been, but that maybe is what lets me do projects like this.